So welcome to the session. Hopefully, like Hazel, you're actually having some lunch while you're having the session. So during the 45 minutes, we're going to show how the links between the STEM Nation Award, the Young STEM Leader Programme, and the Improving Gender Balance and Equalities Programme can be used as a structure for collaborative approaches towards wider achievement in STEM. Today, we've got Fiona Shaw, who might give you a wee wave, who's Development Officer within the Improving Gender Balance and Equalities team, and she's within Education Scotland. You've got myself, I'm Ian Stewart. I'm on secondment within the STEM team as Development Officer, and my main role is the national rollout of the STEM Nation Award. And we've got Jamie Menzies, who will give you a wee wave as well. And he's Programme Manager for the Young STEM Lead Programme up at CIRC. So the plan for the session is quite straightforward. You're going to hear a wee introduction about the 3 different programmes. We've got some input from this wee video from Bummerhoch Primary School to highlight the impact on them. And we've got the connections between the 3 areas and just how they all link together. And then we've got some input from a practitioner as well to see how it works in practice. And we're going to have opportunities for discussion and opportunities for some Q&A. So just very, very briefly, so just highlighting that the STEM Nation Award is a whole setting award, and obviously that benefits learners. And IGBE is also a whole setting approach, whereas the Young STEM Leader Programme is for the learners themselves. And I'm going to pass you on to Jamie.
Thanks very much, Ian. Hi, everyone. Great to see you along today. So just to kind of get started, we have a Mentimeter that we're going to be using for discussion throughout today's session. There's a QR code on your screen just now, so you can use your device, phone, tablet to scan that QR code and access the Mentimeter. But I'm sure Fiona will post the link to that Mentimeter in the chat just now. Hey, right on time. So we're really interested to hear what your thoughts are about your own experience of running, delivering, accessing any of these programs. Do they exist in your school at the moment? Are you running Young STEM Leader? Has your school been involved, or are you thinking about taking part in the STEM Nation Award? Have you accessed any of the Improving Gender Balance and Equalities resources through the hub, the National Improvement Hub, or through the professional learning courses that they run? So really keen to hear what your thoughts are. So please use the link in the chat or QR code to access the Mentimeter, and we'll maybe give it 30 seconds and then Fiona can share the results as they come through.
Just to say as well, if you're unable to access the Menti, the first question is asking whether you have heard of it or not, of each of the programmes. So if you can't access the Menti, please do share in the chat pane whether you've heard of them. And the second question, which I'm about to move on to, is just asking whether you've engaged with the programmes as well. So it's just in case people can't access the Mentimeter.
Thanks, Fiona.
I can see quite a few bits coming through now, so I will just share my screen so that you can see that. So we've got a good balance, I suppose, of what people have heard of across the 3, so that's good to know for us. One person who's not heard of them, so that's today is hopefully a good opportunity for you to hear a bit more about those. I'm going to move on to the next question, And if I could get you to answer this as well, that would just help us out. Okay, Jamie, so I'll hand back to you.
Sure. Thanks, Fiona. So it's really interesting to see that although there are 8 people that have participated in the Menti, there are not 8 people that have engaged with all of the sessions, all of the programs. So hopefully today you'll learn something new, and you'll be able to think about how the 3 programs can work together to improve wider achievement STEM capital within your context. This is on the next slide as well, but if you do have any questions that you want to ask during this session, you can either pop them in the chat or you can use the Mentimeter. There's a button at the bottom of your screen on Mentimeter that should say something like Open Q&A, and then if you click that, you'll be able to answer those questions, and we'll come back to those at the end. So thanks very much, Fiona. Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief introduction to the Young STEM Leader Programme, if you're not familiar with it. The Young STEM Leader Programme is primarily an award for learners, and it enables young people to lead activities, events, or interactions within their centre. And we use the tagline Discover, Create, Inspire, and Lead. And those are the 4 constituent badges that make up a Young STEM Leader Award at the non-formal levels. The award is offered at 6 levels. So we have a non-formal programme delivered at Curriculum for Excellence 2nd, 3rd and 4th levels. And we also have a formal programme offered at SCQF levels 4, 5 and 6, equivalent to National 4, National 5 and higher level qualifications. Within every level of the Young STEM Leader Programme, young people are encouraged to consider and reflect upon their own leadership skills and qualities, as well as develop their presentation and delivery skills when they're working on leading activities, events or interactions. And there are some pictures there showing what young STEM leaders have done, running STEM clubs, supporting in-class learning within school, leading supported studies. But we've had some really amazing examples of excellent leadership, you know, recording podcasts, making websites, and such amazing things that we see every day. The kind of real benefits of the Young STEM Leader Programme, I suppose, for learners and for centres is it's all about improving their own STEM knowledge, understanding and STEM capital, but as well as that of their audience. So any young people or other adults that they might be working with in the process can all benefit. So far, we've had over 10,000 young people engage with the Young STEM Leader Programme in some capacity in over 700 centres in Scotland, and it is available to primary schools, secondary schools and youth and community groups. And our eventual aim is that every young person in Scotland will have access to the Young STEM Leader Programme. No pressure. So it's really great to see you along today, and hopefully the kind of mapping tool that we'll provide during this session will enable you to think about how the award can be delivered in conjunction with some of these other programmes to create the best benefit for you and your centre. And so far, we actually had over 2,000 educators engage with our training to become Young STEM Leader Programme tutor assessors. So if you are interested in that, please visit our website, and the link is in the chat just now. So that's a very brief overview to Young STEM Leader Programme, and now over to Fiona to tell you about the IGBE.
Thanks, Jamie. So the aims of improving gender balance are to support settings from 3 to 18 years. The main aims that you can see here on the screen are around challenging gender stereotypes, addressing unconscious bias. This is both with learners and ourselves as practitioners, and really taking that kind of whole establishment approach to equality. research has shown that this is the best or the most effective way to bring about lasting change. And the final aim, which you can see is slightly separate, is, I suppose, one of the overarching aims is to improve gender balance and subject uptake and learner pathways. So the work we do mainly consists of engaging with schools and nurseries or ELCs to try and address the gender imbalance in curricular preferences, subject choices and learner pathways. But of course, it isn't as simple as encouraging girls into STEM or boys into sort of more creative pathways. It is underpinned by these kind of deep societal gender stereotypes. So the reason this is important is that there are inherent barriers to all young people accessing the same opportunities. And we're not saying young people should be coerced into making any particular decisions, but because of these really sort of influential societal stereotypes, adopting the attitude that young people can choose doesn't necessarily counteract the problem. So trying to ensure we provide activities and encourage learners to engage in thinking and learning that they might not have previously considered or thought was for them. And I suppose these approaches are particularly important in STEM subjects and pathways to ensure that we have a STEM workforce that is as diverse as possible and therefore solves problems and presents solutions that work for everybody. I'm sure we're aware of that sort of leaky pipeline that we see for women and other minorities in STEM, and just coming back to that whole establishment approach as part of the STEM Nation Award, or by looking at IGBE alone, we hope both staff and learners can benefit. So there are a huge number of resources that we have that Ian has shared in the chat pane. And I'm now going to hand over to Ian to talk about the STEM Nation Award.
Hello again. So the STEM Nation Award was developed by Education Scotland with the prime aim of celebrating, promoting and building on effective practice within STEM education. Now, as I said earlier, it's for the setting itself as well. And we're looking at ELC, primary, secondary, and it's also open up to CLD settings as well. It aligns really neatly with the STEM education and training strategy. And as you can see here, there's 5 elements to the award. So we've got leadership in STEM, and that involves young people as well. We've got STEM family and community learning. So that's recognising the practice to improve the STEM capital of the learners, their families and the community. We're also celebrating sustained collaboration between settings and STEM partners to develop employability skills. And then we're also recognising the developing and inspiring STEM curriculum and associated learner pathways. So just identifying new learner pathways instead of just traditional subjects or traditional levels. And also which fits, as Fiona's about to show you, fits really neatly with IGBE, highlighting equity and equality in STEM as well and addressing those issues. I'll pass you back to Fiona.
Thanks, Ian. Sorry, I was just doing slide clicking and it wasn't working. So hopefully what this slide will do, there's some formatting errors we didn't spot, apologies. But hopefully what this slide will do is just help to make those connections a little bit more, go into a bit more depth about the programmes and how they can sort of work together. So I appreciate there is quite a lot to look at on this slide. So what I'm going to do is take it one line at a time. So to start off with, I'll talk about leadership in STEM and how it can look across all 3 programmes, and then STEM, family, community learning, etc., etc. So on the left, you'll obviously see the 5 elements of the STEM Nation Award, which you've just heard about from Ian. So starting with leadership in STEM, if you are looking at this from a gender equality point of view, you might consider whether or not leadership of STEM means all learners have equitable access to STEM pathways, but also that this is data informed. So disaggregating data by gender and other relevant characteristics can help identify that starting point. And then connecting this into Young STEM Leader, this could be ensuring that a diverse representation of pupil STEM leaders who act as positive role models and lead activities for others. In terms of STEM family and community learning, from an IGBE perspective, this would include ensuring those families who are perhaps hard to reach or less likely to engage in STEM are included. Quite often the primary carer or the person who's listed as a contact or who's more likely to engage in schools in general is female. So it's trying to think about that in terms of gender as well. And learners could become involved in this to support their Young STEM Leader Award as well. In terms of employability and partnership working for IGBE, this is all about ensuring any efforts to connect learners into STEM pathways are continuous. So I mentioned when I gave the overview of improving gender balance and equalities about those societal stereotypes and just how early that starts. So this kind of continuous effort is really important, and you know, that will help hopefully learners develop their sense of self-belonging, particularly for girls in STEM. And work with STEM ambassadors can be quite a nice example of this. Also from CERC, and young STEM leaders can then also become STEM ambassadors themselves. And again, training is available for that. In terms of STEM curriculum and learner pathways, for IGBE, it's all about considering whether the contexts, images, role models used within the curriculum reinforce gender stereotypes, and whether or not the advice given to young people at skills profiling or choice interviews is gendered. So research does show that work-based learning opportunities tend to be directed for boys, whereas those kind of traditional routes, university or college, tend to be recommended for girls. And Young STEM Leader links directly into CFE frameworks, as Jamie's already outlined, and has a full module which is just being launched. We're very excited about it, which looks at gender stereotypes and unconscious bias. So there's some really clear links across the three there. And lastly, equity and equality in STEM, possibly the biggest crossover between all three here. For the STEM Nation, that's about ensuring efforts are made to provide that quality opportunity. For IGBE, it's really thinking about what the barriers are, identifying them and actively trying to remove them. And then for young STEM leaders as well, it's sort of actively considering how they can use or challenge stereotypes through any activities that they lead on. So we hope that that brief summary of how the three can connect together has been useful. But if you would like further information, we'll be sharing our contact details again. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you've got questions. And of course, feel free to be posting questions in the chat pane as we go through, which we'll be happy to pick up at the end as well. So I'll hand back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Fiona. And that slide we could also share as well at the end of this session, which is being recorded. And it's quite interesting that all three programs, the Young STEM Leader Programme, STEM Nation Award, and the IGBE programme all kind of derived from the Strategy for STEM Education and Training. So by kind of picking up and delivering any one of these three programs, you're demonstrating your own centre's commitment to improving STEM capital in line with the government strategy. So again, hopefully this will be useful. So I think what might help to provide a bit more context to how these programs kind of might work in practice in your setting is to hear from some young people who've engaged, and also from a practitioner as well. So I'm really delighted that we've received a great video from Balmalloch Primary School in North Lanarkshire. They've been running the Young STEM Leader programme for a couple of years, and recently I've engaged with the IGBE programme with a group of their Young STEM leaders. So they've prepared a video sharing the impact of these programmes on them and how they plan to use their new knowledge of gender stereotypes to challenge stereotypes as a young STEM leader. And Balmalloch are actually joining us today live, so hello to you. And Fiona's now going to share your video.
and young STEM leaders from Beaumalick Primary School in Coolslife, North Lanarkshire. In June, we were visited by Scottish School Education and Research Centre, CERC. In particular, the Young STEM Leader Programme and Fiona Shaw, Improving Gender and Equal Development Officers from Education Scotland.
We took part in a session about gender stereotypes. We explored a time where we may have been treated differently because of our gender, the language associated with boys and girls, gender stereotypes, and how we could use these as learning towards a young STEM leader badge.
We also learned what unconscious bias was and nature vs nurture. It was clear that even in this modern world we live in, there are still stereotypes associated with gender.
Throughout the session, we reflected on stereotypes such as girls can't be scientists and boys can't be nurses. We discussed in pairs how we might address such a stereotype. We suggested things like teaching younger pupils to look at the job rather than the individual or gender, and showing that girls can do science through the lead part of the young STEM leader program.
And by plan and learning experience that show girls doing science and smashing stereotypes. In our school, we focus on British Science Week, #smashing stereotypes, to deliver learning experience to others and address stereotypes.
We plan to provide a learning experience for each class in our school during our termly STEM week that we can plan, support and implement throughout this year. We are looking forward to our first STEM week of the year next month. We'll use the Young STEM Leader Programme to support our leading to ensure we can motivate and inspire other children to smash gender stereotypes.
In our role as a young STEM leader, we hope to be a role model example to squash stereotypes. We believe that education is the important means to squash stereotypes and can educate others by sharing our learning.
We are going to use the learning from the session in June to run a few after-school clubs this year. One will be for girls only to explore STEM learning experiences and hopefully hear from women in a STEM career. Another after-school club we hope to run will be for smashing stereotypes through STEM for all children. We will use the learning about unconscious bias and the language we use when speaking about careers to hopefully teach others and smash gender-based stereotypes.
Throughout the role as young STEM leaders in Beaumalick Primary, we all want to be an ambassador for STEM learning and that is inclusive of STEM education and motivates and inspires and to smash stereotypes to improve the world we live in.
Please have a look at the #smashing stereotypes posters last year's young STEM leaders made for others to read and use in STEM learning experiences to address stereotypes.
We are proud to be a school that offers the Young STEM Leader programme. We continue to support staff and pupils to develop our STEM education provision throughout the school and nursery. Learning based around stereotypes is a huge part of this.
As a group, we learned so much during the session in June. It has really started off our journey towards smashing stereotypes throughout STEM. We would like to thank the staff from the Scottish Schools Education Research Centre, CERC, and Fiona Shaw from Education Scotland for visiting our school to deliver such an important learning lesson session.
If anyone would like to hear more, to ask us any questions, then please contact our Young STEM Leader Programme Tutor Assessor, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you for listening to us. Remember that it is everyone's job to smash stereotypes. We just have one more thing to say. We love being a young STEM leader. Thank you.
Well, it's really fantastic. Thanks again to those young STEM leaders from Balmalick Primary School. I'm really looking forward to seeing how their plans for the year kind of come to fruition. Smashing Stereotypes Club sounds absolutely fantastic, and they're just a kind of prime example of the ways in which these programs can kind of have an impact on learners, and they're obviously going to spread their new knowledge and understanding of gender stereotypes to the whole school, which is fantastic to see. So as I said, yeah, Mr. Patterson's on the call today, so if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat and I'm sure you can pick those up. And I'm sorry about the video freezing there. Again, we can maybe make that available after the session if you'd like to kind of catch up on that. So as well as the impact on learners, I'm also delighted to be joined by Jodie McGeehan from St Andrews Secondary School in Glasgow. As well as being one of the first ever tutor assessors for the Young STEM Leader programme, Jodie is now one of our regional trainers for the award based in Glasgow. And she's been delivering the programme at St Andrews for maybe 4 years now, I think. And we have some slides from Jodie showing what the impact has been linking Young STEM Leader programme and IGBE. And I can see Jodie's appeared on my screen now. Jodie, are you with us?
Yes, that's me. I'm here now. In the middle of our Young STEM Leader Masterclass today, so it's a busy day in terms of Young STEM Leaders in St Andrews. So I'll tell you a wee bit about our programme, how we've made connections between the Young STEM Leader programme, the Improving Gender Balance and Equality team, and now the STEM Nation Award as well. And hopefully it'll give you a wee bit of insight into how you can do it in your school. And if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy for you to get in touch with me. I can share my email address, or you can get in touch with me via Jamie. And I can answer anything and help you out best I can. So as Jamie said, we've been running a Young STEM Leader programme now in St Andrews for a while. We've got it embedded in our senior phase at the formal levels 4, 5 and 6. And we've also got it in our broad general education for S1, starting at level 3. We've worked on that over a number of years, and we've been fortunate enough to have inputs from the Improving Gender Balance team at Education Scotland. We had Hannah come out and visit our Young STEM Leaders, and she done a workshop for them looking at their unconscious bias and challenging stereotypes. And I think what was really impressive about that workshop was that our Young STEM Leaders came in to the programme thinking, I'm going to make sure that more girls study physics, or I'm going to challenge the stereotypes, and they had that understanding. But what the workshop really highlighted to them was the unconscious bias that can sometimes be hidden that you don't see. And that really challenged them to think about their own unconscious bias. It surprised them to learn that they had it. And how were they going to address that throughout our school and make it more visible and ensure that it didn't impact on the activities they led. So they then went on to lead sessions for our health and wellbeing ambassadors that we have in the school, because they felt so strongly about it that they felt it was something that should be highlighted, something that should be challenged, and they went on to do that. And they continue to do that with enhancing STEM experiences across our school. We've had a number of events running, from training days to sessions for, like I say, the health and wellbeing ambassadors, but also lessons to classes about challenging stereotypes, about highlighting career pathways, and making sure that when they're doing that, they're not putting stereotypes into people's heads. Like, they're not showing a nurse, for example, and showing pictures of women being there. They're highlighting more unusual roles within the STEM careers and how they are open to everyone. One of the main achievements, I feel, of our Young STEM Leaders was they ran a Women in STEM event. We had an engineering challenge ran by the universities, and we put it out to all of our S3 to get people to sign up for it. We were hoping to have a team of 3 boys, 3 girls go forward for the challenge. When we put it out to all of our third year, we had 26 boys sign up and not 1 girl. They just didn't see it as something that was for them. They didn't see it as something that would interest them. And that really upset our Young STEM Leaders that not these girls weren't going forward for it, because there was fantastic S3s in our school. So a group of our Young STEM Leaders, boys and girls, got together and they organised a Women in STEM event. They invited women from across the STEM subjects, from across the universities and in different career roles, to highlight to students what they do, what their role is within their career, and give them an activity to make it fun for them. And you can see that poster there shown on the screen for the Women in STEM Day. And you can see a picture of them in the circle planning their activity. So a nice mix of Young STEM Leaders doing that. And when that event finished, we actually had 24 girls put themselves forward for the engineering challenge. So it just showed that from even just one impact, one event, what an impact it can have. And it really improved the quality of STEM in our school. We are using all of this. So we continue with the workshops. Our Young STEM Leaders from last year delivered the sessions to the new Young STEM Leaders every year. So that initial input that Hannah had from the Improving Gender Balance and Equality team has been passed down throughout the years that we've ran this programme over the last 4 years in St Andrews, just to make sure that all young STEM leaders that come in, and we're really excited about the modules getting launched as well, because that will save us a task, and we'll know that they'll all be able to take part in that. And like I say, you can see the Twitter posts and stuff there to see what a success it was. But we're now using all of that and all the activities that our young STEM leaders run and the leadership opportunities that they give to go forward for the STEM Nation Award, and using that to gather our evidence for the 5 different aspects of the award. So, you know, I'm pretty sure I'll be sending you an email later on as well. But like I say, if anyone has any questions or anything they want to know, like I say, I'm trying to give you a really brief overview. But if anyone has any questions or things like that, feel free to ask me, and I'm happy for my email address to be passed on.
Thanks so much, Jodie. I know you're in the middle of a really busy Young STEM Leader Day, so I really appreciate you joining us. And I've popped your email in the chat already, so if anyone wants to get in touch with Jodie, please do. Jodie is a prime example of how you can, truly enhance STEM within your school by delivering these types of programs. So thanks again. Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm now going to hand back to Fiona.
Thanks, Jamie. So I'm just looking at numbers. We're a fairly small group. I understand people might not want to unmute and chat. So if people do want to sort of unmute to discuss some of these questions, feel free to do that. If not, we've got a Menti. It's actually the same link that we put in before, and we're happy for people to just input their thoughts into that Mentimeter. So we thought it might be useful, and I'll share these responses as well on the Mentimeter. We thought it might be useful just to give you a chance to reflect on what you've heard so far about how the programmes can work together, and also provide those wider achievement opportunities for learners, tackle gender stereotyping and unconscious bias, and achieve the STEM Nation Award for your setting, as well as the Young STEM Leader Award. So, as I said, happy for people to unmute if they've got thoughts they would like to share. But really, the last question, so how could these programmes work positively to impact on learner journeys of all children? How can STEM learning in your context effectively challenge stereotypes? And I suppose the question that would be most useful for us from a selfish perspective is, what support is required for your setting to engage in these programmes? So I'm going to pop the link again, or maybe someone's done that already. Maybe not. I'm just gonna.
I can pop the link back in, but I think we might need to move the Menti on. If there's another slide.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh, I've got the link there. There we go. So I will just get the Menti loaded up so that you can reflect on the first question. We've got loads of actually loads of points in here already, which is great. So I'm gonna stop sharing the PowerPoint and bring up the Menti. We've got some really nice things coming through here around engaging children who might find school challenging. Just starting out, it's accessible, hugely beneficial. Children have a love of STEM. Yep, so helping to take those interests of the children forward. That's a really nice one. Useful for your own professional development. Yeah, that's really, and to support others, definitely. STEM Nation helps everyone moving towards the same goal, same direction, and hoping to use it, but circumstances meant it fell through. Yep, so I think good time to pick it up and makes them aware of opportunities available to them. Thank you. I'm going to move it on again, and if people want to pop in thoughts for this one. So obviously Jodie gave a really lovely example, and we heard from Balmelch as well, some of the ways that they might be doing that. And just to say, while people are doing this as well, obviously, you had 2 examples today on the website that Ian shared earlier around improving gender balance and equalities. We've got a document called Sharing Practice. This has got lots of examples of people at different stages, some STEM, some not STEM, but that hopefully will be another useful illustration of how you might be able to sort of challenge stereotypes as well. So if you are going to the website that Ian shared, then that's a good place to have a look. Challenging preconceived ideas. If staff are excited and knowledgeable, children will be interested too. Yeah, challenging our own intentional bias, definitely. Yeah. Great to find out what the stereotypes are. Yeah, that's a nice one. So there's actually, if anyone here has been to our training before, you'll know that in IGBE we always do an activity at the start, which is 3 words associated with girls, 3 words associated with boys. We actually use Menti to do that, and that's quite often good at bringing out stereotypes. It's not necessarily ones that we agree with, but it brings out the ones that we're aware of. So. Just a little activity for people to try. Okay, I'm going to move on, just conscious of time. Thank you very much for those. And I suppose this is the last one. So we know that these programs take time, and, you know, to a certain extent, possibly restructuring certain things within the setting, but we would like to know what support is required either within your setting, but also from us. Great, so I can see resources readily available. So hopefully the websites we shared earlier will help with that. Certainly the new module on gender stereotypes and unconscious bias, although it's for young STEM leaders, we've also got supporting materials around that for tutor assessors. I suppose just for a bit of background information, but also something that could be used and lifted quite easily, hopefully.
For the STEM ambassadors query, it's definitely worth contacting the STEM ambassador team at CERC, whoever that it was that posted that, and they'll be able to link you up with any ambassadors within your local area, depending on the type of activity that you want to do. And I'll pop the link for that in the chat as well. So please do give them a note.
Thanks, Jamie. And I can see getting senior leadership team on board, showing them the benefits, absolutely. And I think, again, you know, the testimonials on the website, on the STEM Nation, I'm actually just going to flick to the STEM Nation. On the STEM Nation Award, you'll see down the bottom examples of other settings that have completed or certain elements of the STEM Nation Award. So again, if you're looking for persuasion pieces, these should be quite helpful for that. And obviously on the Young STEM Leader, it's SCQF aligned in terms of wider achievement for the formal, and for the non-formal contributes towards that as well. And I suppose gender balance is that kind of overarching lens that we hope, you know, tying it in with like GTCS standards as well, that social justice element could be a useful persuader. So time, funding, my colleague Ian has actually is actually in the process of pulling together funding sources, so I'm happy to share that with participants as well. And collaboration with the school, absolutely, yeah. So again, on that STEM Nation Award, hopefully you can see the settings that have achieved that, and absolutely feel free to get in touch with any of us. If it's, you know, a school that you're looking for in your local area, we can certainly point you in the direction of them as well. So I can see from the Q&A, we've got a couple of questions being asked in bike park questions. And Ian and Jamie, this is possibly one that you might want to answer.
Absolutely. The Young STEM Leader programme fits really neatly, and actually can fit neatly with more than one element. So some of your evidence can dovetail with more than one element, and that's totally amazing if you want to do that.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add except that. Well, actually, I do have one small thing to add, so that's a lie. But lots of the pilot settings for the STEM Nation Award were also Young STEM Leader Programme pilot settings. So there are a couple of examples on there of centres who've used the Young STEM Leader Programme to contribute towards that. And I know that many of our settings are starting that process now as the programme has been launched. So perhaps we might work together on some case studies in the future.
Yeah, and I think, again, just going back to the STEM Nation Award page, obviously you've got the examples, but you've also got the application guidance, evidence template, etc. So even just looking through those documents will hopefully highlight the crossover and actually, yes, the answer in short is yes. and that's what we're hoping this session sort of illustrated. And the last question, just before we run out, you've just answered my question, ignore me. Well, there you go. Thank you for that. Should have clicked onto that one before. I can see there's a hand up. Mark.
It's Mark.
Yeah, I guess just following on from that, a couple of skills I'm working with on this, they're actually looking at the young STEM leaders doing basically pulling together all the evidence for the STEM Nation Award. So instead of a practitioner actually doing that work and trying to pull that together, they've put that over to the young people who are going through the YSL, which I think is a really nice approach to that, actually. So I think that sort of shows how they can interlink and reflect in each other.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mark. Yeah. And ties in nicely with, I suppose, like UNCRC as well, thinking about young people's voice and leading on those things. So that's really nice. Okay, I think that's us out of time. So a huge thank you to everybody for coming along. If you're watching the recorded version, I'm just going to share my screen again so that you can see our contact details.
We have a
Because you won't
question
be
from
seeing a
Clive.
slideshow. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry for butting in, but I shamelessly want to plug the session later on, Jamie, that you're involved in DYW Live as an opportunity for people to actually get involved in the STEM Leaders Award by simply using the opportunity that is available on the program. I think, Jamie, am I right in just short-circuiting this very quickly by saying, if anyone wants to take forward a STEM leader qualification and you can't do this for some reason in your school in situ, go online and do it via DYW Live. The session is later on at 3:45.
Thanks, Klaus. And yep, you're absolutely right. We're running online Young STEM Leader 4, 5, and 6 on DYW Live at different points throughout the year. So keep an eye out for those.
Fantastic. So I can see someone's asked, when will the IGBE module be available? It's pretty much ready to go, I'm thinking, Jamie?
Yep, we're hoping to launch it for Young STEM Leader Week at the end of October.
There we go. Yeah. But in the meantime, please do get in touch. Contact details are on the screen. Happy to come in and support as well in terms of IGBE. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. We are 1 minute over. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's been delightful to have you here, and thanks for all your contributions as well.